other email that I unsubscribed, I was like, no, spiritual teachers, bad juju. So make sure that you trust your instincts. If somebody says something, and I sure hope that the day would come that if I say something that brings you fear, please tell me, okay? This is not my intention. But if you feel that someone out there is talking about things that make you scared, that make you angry, that make you, like, when you leave their broadcast, when you leave their page, when you leave their website, whatever, are you inspired? Did you learn something? Was value added, or was it taken from you? That's what you want to, that's how you want to like function, right? We are here to add value to each other. And yes, we are still in human form, so sometimes we screw up, and that's normal. But, you know, like sometimes I get my Italian finger out and I start yelling and things, but like I'm doing my best. So, and you know, some other people's best may not be good enough for you. My best may not be good enough for you, depending on where you're at. And you have to get real about it. And I really, truly have no judgment about that, because I understand how much everybody has to be in alignment with exactly what they need. Okay, so very important. Very, very important. Make sure that you know the content that you're keeping in. Let's answer questions. Okay, I saw some being typed up in addition to the ones that we were talking about. 100% give credit to the people who made the post. Is spiritual people healers should stick together. Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's the purpose. So it's a weird thing. It's fine. I'm not available. Whenever that happens, by the way, it was very clear for me. And yes, you'll see that I'll start putting my name now in between the posts, which I didn't really want to start doing. The reason why I do it, it's not even necessarily for the credit, but it's the fact that I think when people read something like that, it doesn't actually match the energy of the person that stole it from you, per se. And what if they have questions for the person that actually put out this content? This is how I feel. Like, what if they need clarification on what I wrote? I want to make sure that, like, you know, or whatever. If they do, I want that information to be available to them. That's really what it's about for me. I want people to be able to say, okay, I resonate with what this girl is saying. I need to listen to her. And I think it's a disservice when we cock block that for people, right? Okay, done and done and done. Good points, yes. Sonia, I only follow you, aligned. And I love you. I love you so much. If you do resonate with me, then, I mean, I love you all. I'm so glad that you're here. I know what I stand for, and I know where I come from, and I so appreciate you. And I actually care. Like, I'm actually one of those people that gives a shit, which is kind of not a normal thing in life, I have learned. Okay, Kia. I love you, and I've always said this about you. There's always something with what you say that feels so right and complete. I am grateful that you guys feel this way, because this is really the vibe that I want to portray, okay? Hi Tara, hi Jenna, hi loves. I'm so glad that you guys are joining. Okay, so let's answer the questions. You guys are asking me questions about what to do with the kids, what to do with the timelines. Remind me things, okay? So ask me things if I don't remember from where we cut off. So what to do with the children, very important. What to do with the children during this time is allow them to be who they are, but give them permission to be more than they have been allowed to be on earth. Talk to them about the magical things, okay? Allow them to express themselves creatively. This is the time where they're going through, get them out in nature, very important. Get them out in the sunshine, get them out in the air, get them out in nature. Have them reconnect with the earth, have them reconnect with the elements, allow for them to be like reawakened in the truths that they know inside. They're closer to the truth than we are, because they didn't have all those years of writing of the chakra systems and the belief systems, right? So their healing is so much faster than our in this moment, you know, with where we're at. And they'll be able to switch like this. Some kids are like, I mean, they're already there. So some children are like little baby oracles, right? They will tell you how it is. They will tell you what they see. Give them permission. Stimulate their higher senses. Meditate with them. Pray with them. color with them, do things that stimulate right brain function, okay? All of that stuff. Get like a deck of cards for them to play with, for angels, for them to be able to have words. Sometimes children don't have words to say the things that they see because they're just words that they haven't been taught because nobody tells us that stuff. So that's what you want to do with the kids. And make sure that you know what they're watching, doing on their smart devices and stuff, because there's a lot of misinformation that's specifically targeted for the children. Because if the minds of the children can go numb while they're young, then we perpetuate the entire system of unconscious, right? Where all of the energy goes in the traumas and the things, and then it gets harvested and all of that. So let's cut that. That ends with this generation. We are done. We are the chain breakers. We are here to change the world. So teach your children well, okay? And I know that there are like different meditations and different things that you can do with the children, but just get creative, especially moms. Moms, you are the bridge between heaven and earth. Like the dimensions of heaven and earth meet in your belly to give birth to a child. You have powers. You have powers beyond what you can imagine, okay? Tap into that divine gift. You will always know how to lead your children. You will always know. It's that sixth sense. Trust yourself on that, okay? Very, very powerful. Okay. Repeat question from the last plus another. Okay. How do we translate the running out of time to people that are unaware? Thank you. Okay. If we have people on the cusp of awareness, should we reach out and try to help? So the ways that you want to show them this, I can only share with you what I have found, right? To be helpful, to be positive, is don't do it out of fear. Fear never works. A lot of people are like, I can be honest and tell you, oh man, we're running out of time. But I say it because we're running out of time for us to figure out the inside processes. We are the way showers. We are the ones like the ground crew that came here to begin this process. So the fact that we're having this conversation means that you have a level of responsibility on earth, right? Which is why you're asking about your other friends. So it's the way you are, it's the way you be, it's the way that you hold yourself, the frequency that you carry, the people will start to see, and then they will ask you. And then they'll be like, oh, that makes sense. So don't censor yourself. This is the best thing. Be exactly who you are, and it's going to be like, you have to be ready for that because people will judge you and people will, be like, and you will be that oddball and, whatever. But if you really know what's happening, do you really care about the judgments that they have on you? Does that make sense? Like, if you really stand in your truth and you say things, say it from a loving perspective. Whenever you talk to people like that, always think of speaking from your noble self. Put your crown of light on, okay? Be the king, be the queen. And speak to them like they are another king or another queen. Nobility to nobility, okay? Being respectful, appealing to that other person's like higher senses. And the way that you can say it is like, look at the world. Is this the world you want to live in? Like, is this the world you want to subscribe to? Do you actually want to live in a different place? Like, how do you feel it's going to go? Have them think. Ask them questions instead of telling them how it is. Ask them, what do you think is going to happen, right? How do you think this is going to play out? Like, begin the question and the seeking of the answers in their mind. That's the best thing that you can do, because if you tell them how it is and they're not ready to hear it, they can't take it in. They have like no way, no perception to like, they don't have the right file available in their brain yet. So you have to start it, right? With curiosity. Like, how do you think this is going to go? And don't worry if they say, oh, I don't care, man, let's have a drink, whatever. It'll stay with them. It'll stay in the back of their mind. Okay. And then they will see you more peaceful through it. And at some point they will ask you. So this is what we came to do. Okay. Hopefully that helps you. I'm so glad I found you. Oh, yay. I'm so glad that you did too. Blessings. I love all of your guys' cute comments. Thank you. I have a preteen and a teen. It's very hard to get them to understand. What can I do? Okay, so teenagers are in that phase where it's a different phase because they're figuring out how to be cool in the world and let their other beliefs go away. So they're leaving behind childhood and they're figuring out how to be cool. The reason why this is a rebel phase is because really it's a rebellion against the deepest part of your soul. Because nobody really wants to go through that phase where you give up your identity and your truth of childhood and the beauty of who you are to be like this, rebellious child on earth. But we just don't realize that we go through that process because it's like a funnel of society's like rules and regulations, and somehow subscribe to that, right? So it does require effort to unsubscribe to that. Also, know that with teenagers, it's so important for you to clear your house every day, morning, night. Teenagers are attacked like you wouldn't believe, because that's the moment that they make that decision, whether they're going to conform or they're going to be rebels and actually be the different ones, right? So they're really attacked. So it's important that your house is a sacred space. What you can do is you can provide that environment, right? You can make rules about things that can be played on TV and not. You can make rules in the house, make them out of love, don't make them out of fear, and they will feel the difference. Okay. Stubborn teens. Okay, Jen says, I signed up for Metaphysical Mastermind. Yay! Welcome, Jen. I'm so excited to have you. Will I get caught up with the other 2 modules before doing 3? Absolutely. So once your access loads, and this is good for all of you guys that are contemplating this right now. So once you register, you have access to the bonuses. Okay, there's a presentation, there's meditation, and then there's a welcome call, and it takes you through how to navigate. And then you have module 1 and module 2. Module 3 is next Thursday, which is the reason why I'm closing registration on Monday, because you need enough time to at least go through the welcome call and possibly the first module, right? So you want to start to catch up. So you'll have instant access to all of that. And it generally takes a few hours to load and for you to get all the information through the system. So welcome, Jen. I'm excited to have you. And yes, it's amazing. You're going to feel like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting to learn. These are the things that I actually needed to know to get to where I'm going. This is how we feel in the Metaphysical Mastermind. And by we, I mean the general feeling of the soul fam, because I always attract my soul family, right? So this is how my belief system is set up. So I'm really excited to have you. And always ask me any questions. Okay, Daisy Love. My 14-year-old son, who has previously exploded a light bulb by holding his hand over it. Oh, that's my kind of guy. I've done that. Now just rolls his eyes at me and asks him to dial down my spiritual stuff. Give him another light bulb to pop, right? Like, give him, if he's a rebel and he is the kind that, and maybe you work with him and you just say, hey, I want to learn how to do that. Do you remember how you did that? Like, find a way. Moms know. Ask for guidance on the angles to use with your children and find a connection, a way of tapping into that with them, to where you're reestablishing a relationship on the things that they need to hear, because everyone's spirituality is different. And so find a way to relate to them. And then you kind of have that in again, right? Erica, look up Cosmic Kids Yoga with your kids. Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I love that. So what happens to those that don't shift up? So there will be 2 earths. There will be a 3D earth available, and there will be a 5D earth available. The people that will continue on the 3D earth, nobody knows entirely how this is looking, okay? It's like Some people will shift over. How does it work? How does it work with like the families? How does it work with all the friends that know you, right? Will they forget about you? We don't know entirely how this works, but we know that it's a resonance. And so you have to vibrate at a resonant energy that like is congruent with the fifth dimensional frequency. Otherwise your body would explode. So you can't drag the people that are not ready, right? Just like for people that are vibrating inside in higher dimensional planes, you can't keep them held in a box because they don't vibrate in the confines of the box anymore. They're free. So there will be a split, and whoever is still on the 3D earth will just have their time to learn, and then they will vibrate over, right? It's not like a one and done thing. So it's not like, oh, hey, we're splitting, jump on. I mean, I want to be jumping on. I am so ready, right? But it's like, it's not going to be a one and done. It's not going to be like, hey, a portal's open and it closes. It's going to be okay, holy shit. I can see that, there's another way over here. There's another earth over here. And I'm going to do the things that are necessary to vibrate over there. So there's different prophecies about this in sacred text. It's said in all sorts of different ways too. If you want to kind of get a feeling for that, I don't know whether, I don't know entirely what's accurate or not. When I try and look to see at what happens, whenever we look at things in time and to predict the future, because our higher self, our guides know us better, they're very careful of saying things because then they will give us images that may or may not happen depending on the timeline that we end up taking. And so it's very non-serving for us to have images in our mind that then don't match. So we're looking for this sign and this sign isn't happening. And so we don't think that we're going. Does that make sense? Because our future is always based on the collective consciousness and the collective unconsciousness. So we're working together in it. This is why we're all in unity consciousness already, because it's our collective that determines the path that we take. So this is kind of why. As more people awaken, the scales tip and they tip over. And so this is the people that don't shift right away will shift in time. So everybody has the chance. Everybody will have the chance. Everybody will decide at some point. And this is the feeling. It's, I have had enough. I'm done. This reality sucks, right? And then you wake up and you want something different and you decide and you do the things that are required in order to move over here. Okay. So teens, you guys are concerned about the teens. So hopefully that was helpful. Teens are most afraid of being judged. How do you help with that? You love them unconditionally and you teach them not to judge. There's a lot that society has done to damage children and teens. And so it's not an easy job. It's really not. I would love for you guys, I have a free group on Facebook, Moonbabes and the Light Tribe. If you have resources, those of you that have teenagers, I haven't had experience with a teenager during those ages, right? Ari, who was my stepdaughter, who is now like my niece because we've shifted. She's not my, her dad and I are no longer together. So she's 11 and I've gone through a lot of phases with her. And so I can explain to you, what I've done until then, but after that, I don't have physical experience of it. I've just known what I've seen my friends do and people that have had teenagers. And I can tell you that an open conversation, non-judgment, but solid rules out of love in a home. One of my girlfriends is amazing. I've always said it, she is the example of mom, and she was a single mom and she has an only son. She raised him like a jewel. He's very precious, and he knows about service. He knows about so many things. Her thing was always she would tell me, Sonia, my heart would drop. Sometimes he would say certain things, but I would listen. I would keep my cool. I never raised my voice. I allow him to talk. And then he felt permission to be able to share, right? And to have conversations. And so I would, take after her, not my parents, for example, because that didn't work out so well when I was a teenager. I ended up leaving the country. But find ways and examples and role models, or decide that you get to be a new example of how this is done, and then you will teach others, and then you will be there for others. So it's a big task, but we wouldn't have signed up for it. You guys wouldn't have signed up for it. This is what you have to remember. You would not have signed up for it if your soul didn't know that you could do it, okay? And that's the part that you always have to remember. No matter what comes up, you would not be facing this task if your soul wasn't here to actually do the thing and then elevate yourself beyond it and teach others. So always know that you have got to have the knowingness, right? You've got to have it. You have to, because this is the situation. So trust yourself. So be like, all right, higher self, angels, guides, God, universe, I'm ready. Send the guidance. This is literally this is how I live my life. When I have something like, okay, I know I signed up for this, but I'm not seeing it. So how do we do this? How do we do this? And receive the guidance. Do the things that align you to be in that path of receiving the guidance, okay? Because if you are in that situation, I promise you the solution exists, and it is a part of your soul plan. It is a part of your soul's divine blueprint. So you have access to it, okay? And yeah, again, share in the Facebook group, because sharing and understanding and community is very important. Okay, the tall blonde. Do alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, cannabis, etc. prevent ascension? Good question. If so, what's the best way to kick habits? How about consuming meat, animal, and products? Okay, so here's the thing. There's a way to do things. I'm going to preface this saying this way. There's a way to do things that serves. There's a way to do things that is numbing, okay? So with all the things, it depends on how you do the things, okay? Is alcohol always bad? No. Is alcohol most of the times bad for a lot of people? Yes. So let's just start with alcohol. So what alcohol does is it cracks your aura. Your aura is your electromagnetic field that sits around you to protect you and to protect your vibe. And when your aura is strong, then you are like taking up space in the world with your own frequency. You're like, I am here, right? And nothing can touch you. Shit can bounce off of you. When you drink, you don't have that magnetic field shielding you. So your aura cracks and then shit can get inside. When people black out and they're like, oh my God, I don't remember what happened. How did I get here? What did I do? Someone else was driving, okay? So there's a lot of entities that are discarnate entities, meaning they're entities that never got to have a body because they were not evolved enough to be able to incarnate on Earth, but they're always wanting to be on Earth. So what do? They wait. I mean, can you blame them? If you give them the chance, they are gonna be like, hey, this body is open, I'm jumping in, guys, let's do some shit. I mean, it's just the level of consciousness. So by drinking to the point where you're drunk or you black out or whatever, losing that consciousness, you lose the consciousness and somebody else takes over for you. Then you have to deal after that with clearing that up. And sometimes there's hooks. If it happens repeated times, there's hooks, there's scars, there's shit that happens. Once they find their way into you, they can come back to you, right? They're attached. They suck your energy. Like all that stuff is like real. It really happens. And then you have to clear them out, and you have to do all the work, and it's just a lot of work. So yeah, that's why alcohol historically was called spirits, because people that would drink it would then somehow have spirits around them because they were like waiting, to have their part of being inside a body. So, I love red wine. Does it mean that I don't have half a glass of red wine, with my Italian meal? No, sometimes I do. And it's great. Sometimes, in fact, I have found that specifically red wine is very grounding for me. It doesn't mean that I drink more than I feel like is good. So you have to calibrate yourself, okay? And so use your judgment. I mean, it's kind of one of these things where it's like, how do you know what's enough? right? For me, half a glass is great. I don't know. It depends on where you're at. So point is, if you feel fuzzy, you've gone way too far with any of the things. If you feel like you are not in control of your energy and your senses, you've gone too far with any of the things. Nicotine is a stimulant. It doesn't allow for your system to create some of your own hormones. And so basically what happens to these things is they impair your functioning of your normal bodily functions that are needed for optimal functionality of energy, of immune systems, and all of that. A great example is like with what's happening now with the coronavirus and the people that smoke. The countries that smoke have, it's like, because it's the airwaves. It's just not healthy. If it's not healthy, it's not a good idea. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Caffeine, be careful with caffeine. It's a stimulant. Cannabis can be good. It can be bad. It dulls your senses. Here's what I'm going to say about all of this, okay? If something happened like an earthquake, like some kind of whatever event that required your attention and for you to be functional right now, okay? Are you when you are doing those things? Are you functional right now? Are all of your systems firing? Are all of your senses online? That's really how you know, okay? Because if you're like, oh, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to tap out of reality and I'm just going to like kick back and whatever, and then something happens, are you ready for it? So that's really how you need to make your decisions. Some things can be helpful, some things can be harmful. But the most important thing is that you train your body to be your own temple and to create those substances. Like, people that do the DMT trips. I mean, your body, your pineal gland is in charge of releasing the DMT. If you give it DMT, it won't produce that anymore because it will wait for you to ingest it, okay? Same thing with many other things, like your thyroid. Let's go to like legal things. Your thyroid. People that get to be on thyroid medication, and I'm not advocating that you get off of it, but once you once you start to take thyroid medication, you can't get off of it because your thyroid depends on it. And then because your thyroid doesn't produce the hormones that are needed anymore. So you're unregulated. So anytime you depend on a substance that is outside of you for the functioning of your life, you're in trouble. And I'm not saying you're in trouble in like for a lot of people, there's a lot of things that are needed. So as always, please take this. I'm not a medical provider, but I'm just saying there are things that, outside in that you can cut out and that you can teach your body how to reawaken certain things and little by little weed things off, right? You can teach your body, you can teach your mind how to produce certain things. I know this because I got off of like heavy doses of medications for ADHD. I was on all sorts of shit. I had from fibromyalgia, heart surgery, ovary surgery. I've had endometriosis. I have had so many things. I know what it feels like to teach my body to restore its normal functioning to the point that I threw away all my meds, okay? And now I don't use meds. I use light, and that's my meds. So the more you can just function independently of anything else that's an outside source, the better. How about consuming meat, animal products? So listen to yourself and your intuition on that. I believe there's a balance. This is my personal belief. I think a lot of people have different beliefs. I think different bodies, different blood types are more easily sustained by different things. So your body will tell you what you need in the moment that you need. Meat is very grounding. If you eat meat that has been treated, right? If you eat meat from an animal that has been treated horribly and has been traumatized at the point of death and has been abused during their life, then you are actually ingesting the trauma. This is why meat is not good anymore, because meat became, like, animals became farmed. And so it wasn't, the whole point of the cycle of life is that, like, humans would give quality of life to an animal, right? Like to an animal on a farm, and they would take care of it, and, you know, him or her, whatever, and, you know, be with the animal. And then when it was the animal's turn, because animals have shorter lifespans than humans, when it was the animal's time to go to the other side, right, to transmute, to transform, then the animal in turn would give quality of life to the human that take care of it. This is a cycle of life. This is harmonious living. This is a harmonious lifestyle. When we are doing it for, you know, other purposes, then it becomes like traumatic. So does that mean, you know, don't eat meat? No, it means clear the meat. For a while, I went through a phase where I was like seriously horrified to find out what was happening with like the animals and the cows and like all of that stuff. And so literally, but my body was wanting the meat, and I would, because I went through a very heavy grounding phase of like dimensionally grounding a lot of things in. And so every time I would go through this like 20-minute process, clearing the meat, clearing the animal, clearing all of that line, and doing the work for the animals of like clearing through the traumas that have happened. So that was my path. Doesn't mean it has to be yours, but just listen to your intuition, because you will always be guided. So hopefully that makes sense. Hi, lovelies. Okay. Grateful for your knowledge. Thank you. I'm happy to share. Okay, we are back to the teenager questions. What if they made a mistake while being rebellious, and as a parent watching this, what do we do? So this goes back to the fact I don't know how to answer that, right? Like so if your children made a mistake while being rebellious, it's really hard to not judge them, but you have to hold space for them. So you have to be the loving parent that disciplines. This is something that our culture and our society is missing, is discipline. There's such a thing as the art and the science of discipline. So you have to hold them accountable, and you have to teach them how to function, you know, in a higher way for themselves. That is your job as a parent. So our job as parents is not to entertain our children. Be very clear on this. Our job as parents is to teach and elevate our children beyond what we know, is to give them the tools to create a better world. That's our job. And so we constantly have to go beyond ourselves to find these answers. And you will grow because of that. You will grow because of the things that you need to do, and that you need to create and make available for your family in this process. So become the observer of your journey. This is another thing that always helps, right? Become the observer. Look at it from your higher self, okay? Just had a massive surge of love through your heart. Oh, yay. Thank you. Will shifting to 5D help with this 5G issue? Well, the 5D issue won't exist in 5G. So that's a good, in 5D. So that's like another way of combating, right? It's frequency control. You guys know our planet is under a very solid amount of frequency control. It's in all the radio waves. This is the mental warfare. This is the wave, the invisible war that's happening. So yeah, once like a 5D world doesn't need that. 5D world has free energy and free communication, and all of that is available, and it will become available. So that's part of the plan. So, okay. Will people move back and forth between 3D and 5D? I believe for a while that will happen, just the same way that we were doing that in consciousness. While we were back in, chaos and bliss. You guys remember these phases we weaved through the dimensions energetically. I feel like that probably will happen in terms of like grounding. To me, what that looks like when I tap into that, what that looks like is your surroundings change. So the people that will do that work, it will be like, oh, this is what this looks like in 5D, but you'll be very conscious of it. This is what this looks like in 5D. This is what it looks like in 3D. I'm in 5D, and in 5D, maybe you'll walk, tying back to the 5G thing, maybe you'll walk into a home, your home, and in 3D, and there will be all of these lines and all these trees cut off and all of the bullshit. And then, you walk into your, place, your house in 5D, and it will be completely different and flourishing and on a farm or, whatever, like in nature, but it'll be your house with your people. So this is what the pictures that when I tap into it, that's what I see. It doesn't mean that this is the way it's going to unfold. And this is why I'm always careful about sharing these things with you guys, because we don't entirely know, and I don't want you to look for something that then is not the thing. Okay. So, but I do believe that we'll be shifting. So, there's a lot I did to damage my teens. Ho'oponopono. Yes. Ho'oponopono is a great Hawaiian prayer. It's a way of releasing energy of a situation between people, between things. So if you don't know what Ho'oponopono is, Google it. It's really, really great. It's repeating these 4 words. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. Over and over and over to clear the energy. But you have to mean them, okay? You have to tap into your heart. Okay. How can we bring the people with us? So it's the same thing. You have to, people will only, we're talking about it in different ways. So people will only accept reality from their level of perception. And so we have got to figure out how to get people to elevate. And everyone does it in a different way. And so a lot of times, especially when it comes to men, it's because I know this is a question for a lot of women. It's how do I make sure that everybody in my family is understanding what's going on? Ask them questions, make them think. Men are more logical. This is the most developed part, right? So have them think through the things and how, to get through this phase of life and how it's going to look like and what would your ideal world look like and why can't we create that? And, things like that. Stimulate their mind in the places that they know how to function. And then we have to take them to the other side. We have to bridge. But just the fact that they're around you, your loved ones, the people that are around you, if you're doing the work and they are in your energy field, by default, they have this information available to them. So I do believe that this is a big thing. And I do believe that when the time comes and they have to shift, they'll have the knowledge available in their aura and their process will be very fast. So they'll just have to integrate it. It'll all be right here because they interject with our aura and our energy field. And so they'll just go, oh, I get it. Now I know all the things. And this is what we're doing. So let's open the space for this to happen. Okay. Advice for young adults for planning future and work since structures are changing. Yes. Find out the way that you want. This is what a lot of these answers really, questions can be answered this way. Get very clear on what you want your 5D Earth to look like, and then take decisions based on that. What businesses do you envision running in a 5D Earth? How can you serve the new level of consciousness, the new level of humanity? What are the things that you came to learn on planet Earth that now you know so well that you can walk others through? How can you make a difference in other people's lives, right? Are you going to be one of the people in 5D that crosses over to the 3D and teaches and shows the people the way? Maybe you are, right? So figure out, because right now, really, those of us that are aware of it, this is the other beautiful thing, you guys, we get to create it the way that we want it. So it's how do we want it? You get to define it, okay? So this is what we want to do. And a lot of the times it's this is what I would say. In terms of job and in terms of how you could serve your fellow people on Earth, okay, or your soul family on Earth, it's the thing that you would do for free because your soul can't wait to just express it and to tell it. You feel me now. right? You know, I do this stuff for free because I know this stuff has to come out. I want to teach you. I want to teach you. This is what my soul is standing for, right? I would do this stuff for free. In the world that we currently live in, right, there are things that happen. There's ways that we have to like support ourselves, sustain ourselves. Also, we can't say certain things out loud in, structures that we have available right now. But once that shift, right, absolutely, this will be my contribution, to the society that, we are creating. And so right now, the things that I charge in a 5D that I charge for in the 5D world, of course, that's gonna shift. And so that's how you figure it out. So, because then you know that you're really passionate about it, and then nobody can take it away from you because you really believe it and you would do it no matter what. And that's the stuff that's like your cause. Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, other questions? You're an angel. Thank you. You guys are so cute. I love you all. Thank you for all the love. I may not read it all, but I feel you and I love you guys. Ashley, it hasn't happened in a while, but sometimes when I close my eyes before bed, whenever I see a constant stream of faces, people I've never seen before, come from different angles. Yes, Ashley, good question. And we have new ones right now. We have new people, and it happened like a couple of days ago. So every so often, these are actually people that come and visit you and that are around you. Every so often, in the phases of where we are in the orbit of the Earth, okay, we shift into a new place. And because of a new place, like when we emerged in 2012, the biggest mark was in 2012 when we emerged into the Milky Way galaxy. And then we had lots of star beings that started interacting with us. But as we continue moving deeper and deeper into the higher frequencies of our galaxy, of our Milky Way, then different beings can interact with us because the Earth is now submerged or immersed or surrounded by or emerging into different bands. There's like current waves in the universe, like bandwidths, okay, like radio dials that the Earth is like emerging into. So now that we're into like a new, and this is how I know that like, oh, we have an alignment, we have a portal, like things are happening. All of a sudden I started seeing people, you start seeing people with like different bases, different, like, where did you come from? Because you are not part of my star crew right now. So this happens. They come to see you. They're curious also about this experiment that is happening on Earth because it's never been done before. A planet has ascended, people have ascended, but we're doing it together. Okay, so this is different. A lot of people in the galaxy, in our universe, are watching to see how we're doing this. And because it serves the entire universe. This is why the Earth is also known as the Library of Knowledge, because the information is being deposited here. So when you close your eyes, right when you wake up in the morning and right when you fall asleep at night, you tap into that space between dimensions. And that fourth dimensional mental energetic plane becomes more unveiled. And those are the people that you see. And, these are people that are actually beings, people, entities that are around us during the day. We're just not used to seeing them all the time, nor do we really want to, because that would be a lot of people to deal with. Like, you'd constantly be like, I need space, people, right? Well, let's not knock down candles. So, sometimes they come to teach you, sometimes they come to bug you. So get really clear. And that's what they are. I remember the first time, it was like a few years ago, where all of a sudden I was introduced to the bug beings. I was like, that is freaky. They kind of just really look like bugs, but like people. And they exist and they're part of our universe. And they're not bad. I mean, like all things, there's always the good guys and the bad guys. Okay, so make sure you know who your guides are. But that's what happens, right? And sometimes they just have a shape and a look that we're like, whoa, that looks different and we're not used to it, but that doesn't make them bad. So they do. They come from different angles. They're coming from different, they don't have the same rules of density that we do. So that's why. Okay, Mindful Fox. So I hope that was helpful, Ashley. So that is a thing, and that does happen. Oh, and also during those times, that's where you can get a lot of information. That's where you can get a lot of connection and information. Okay, The mindful fox. I feel like I'm regressing. Old wounds are definitely resurfacing. Yeah, because you have to clear them out for good. So if this is happening for you, haven't been showing up as my best self under the pressure of homeschooling. Yeah, this week. And this is a challenge for a lot. And this is one of the things I was telling one of my girlfriends who has 2 children at home. She's homeschooling. She was like, this is a lot. Our system is like so messed up. And I was like, it's so necessary. I think that the world realizes this as a number one thing. Number 2, for me, I was like, wow, I couldn't do now I understand why I didn't have, I don't have a child at home because I couldn't do what I do and hold the space that I do. So there's always a reason, of not going through this phase because I get to hold space for other things. So if this is the situation and it's coming up, it's because there's a job there. There's a thing there. Nothing is happening by accident anymore, right? And so look at the things that you're learning, not anymore, ever, but now more than ever, we need to pay attention to that. And the things, remember, I said the equinox, okay, the 19th. The 10 days after the equinox are always about reconciling the old. So we're almost through those days. Okay, that will end on the 29th. So the end of this month will clear up a lot. So resolve, and then we're shifting over. So those are all just things that need to be cleared. I'm not afraid to put my foot down. All right. Thanks for all of your responses. I appreciate your words and positiveness. Absolutely. Love you, sister. What would you recommend nutrition-wise to help us with this ascension? So there's different phases of ascension, and there's different nutrition that goes with different phases of ascension. Sometimes you'll feel like drinking lots of liquid and lots of like smoothies and things and nothing else. Sometimes you'll feel like drinking very heavy foods because they need to be grounding you. So the best thing that you can do is learn to trust your instincts and trust your cravings. If you are in alignment, you will know your body will crave things, not like you're craving sugar, like, you're craving the shit, then it's like because you're addicted to it, different kind of thing. But your body will crave something for nurturing, for nutrition, and it will all of a sudden be so appealing, like you have to have an avocado or you have to have a steak, whatever that is, okay? Your body will match. It's a vibrational thing. Your body will request. So if you begin to work with your body in alignment that way, your body will request the thing that it needs to metabolize the information. Sometimes we need to lift higher. Sometimes we need to ground in the information. That's the kind of foods, and the difference. So you have to think of it that way. There's no right or wrong. Ever, really. It's a function of, besides the processed food, we all know that, right? Processed foods are not good. Foods that are like, with a bunch of sugar and like with all the GMOs and all of that. That's not good in general, but that's not news. So just, trust yourself. Okay. Ciao, Antoniette. I love the Italians. Christina, I'm really looking forward to doing your Goddess on Mission course pretty soon because I definitely need to come with something. It's going to be the key. Yes. So Goddess on Mission, or Christina was in the Goddess on Mission, and this is what happens in my courses. People feel pulled to them when the time calls, and then sometimes it gets finished later. And so the time is now. The time is now. All of you that have that course, this is a good time to go through that course again. Because it's your call to stepping on the mission. So, and this is the beautiful thing about any of my courses. You'll be able to do them anytime, and we have private Facebook groups for them where you can interact, share what's going on. We have such a good high vibe community in all of the groups, and it just makes my heart happy because we can talk about all the things, which is amazing. It's so needed and so necessary. So cheers to discovering what you came on the planet, figuring out the business structure of it. So Goddess on Mission helps you figure out the business structures, figure out what you came on the planet to do, and then how to do it, and putting it into like a business plan and business thing. So that's the thing. Well, the Metaphysical Mastermind, which I'm teaching right now, this is about all of the metaphysical, the esoteric, the secret knowledge stuff in order to do the ascension part. So there's courses for all sorts of different things. If you guys haven't looked on my website, it's an amazing resource. There's also, if you have not taken my free course on how to manage your energy, go do it right now, right after this live. Go to free stuff on my website. Go to www.moonbabetribe.com, click on free stuff. It's called the Energy Hack 101. Must know the basics of how to do this. All right. You're welcome, loves. Okay. Can you explain December 17, 2020? I can't find it, but you mentioned it in one of your posts. So in December, we're going to have an alignment that is going to kind of bring a huge shift. That huge shift is going to be, this is like the Saturn and the Pluto. So Saturn is the teacher, Pluto is the destroyer. This is how this whole thing happened. At the beginning, on January 12th, we had, and I don't know whether my dates are accurate or not exactly, but I think it was January 12th. Saturn and Pluto came together and it was like, boom, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn. Remember that with a bunch of planets in Capricorn? And it was the collapse of the structures. And it is the collapse of the structures. So they're coming back together. So they're coming back around. Saturn is going to decide if we've learned the lessons that we came to learn. Pluto is going to decide whether or not there's more things to destroy that are standing in our way for the ascension. So between now and then, the more of our job we do, right, the better off we're going to be, and, you know, for that next shift. One thing is for sure, in December, we're going to have another major shift. Just like this Corona situation was a huge shift that came from January, right? So big, huge world involving situation. In December, it will be something else that will be happening, that something has to do with the whole world. So we just don't know what that is yet, because it depends on the work that we do between now and then, which is why I have a tendency to say we're running out of time, because we have to do our work. I really want the good stuff to come in December, but it may not be good stuff. So we're just going to have to see. Okay. Okay. Time frame for this transition. It depends on our collective consciousness. So this is why the time is now for everybody to rise, right? And this is why my job is to teach the next wave of teachers, teach the next wave of healers, like those of you that have, you know that you're here to change, because then as you learn from me, then you teach everybody else. Like, this is the time. So the more we can share, come out of the spiritual closet, share your gifts. This is that time for that spiritual revolution where energetically we have to just take over with a higher vibrational frequency so that we can tip the scales of the collective consciousness over to the positive side of things. This is our job. This is why we can't get fucking distracted in the fear and the anxiety and the bullshit and the news and the stuff going on. We have our world to create so that we can actually shift in it. This is our real job. So we can make it happen very fast or very slow. So the time frame is hard to give, but we for sure know that there's a checkpoint to how we're doing in December. So let's do the work, you guys. In the meantime, April, is there any quick way to release headaches? I feel like sometimes spiritual work gives me headaches, but I'm not sure why. Yes, breath work. Lots of breath work and moving your spine like this, moving it like this, okay? Also do this kind of movements, like open your chest. Headaches happen because you have, a lot of times when it comes to spiritual headaches, happen because you have like trapped energy that you can't like move around. So when you're downloading it, when it comes to like doing spiritual work and then you get a headache, your circuits are not connecting the way that they should, and so it hurts and it gives you a headache. It's too much. So use your entire body, your breath, to clear that up and to assimilate the energy. Advice to help with siblings fighting all the time. That's the gift of being a mom, being a sister. And so, you know, it's honestly the best thing that I can tell you is to constantly ask for higher guidance, because everyone's situation is so unique. But what I know for sure is that you will be led. If you ask the question, the answer will come, okay? Because this is the path. So when you are asking for guidance of the path that you're on, because you're being in service of your family, there's no higher calling than service. When you are in service of your family, of your friends, of your world, okay? And you are in a situation that requires you to come up with a solution that you just can't see or that you just don't know how to do it. If you ask for guidance, the answer has to come because you're in service, okay? So know that, trust that knowingness and allow it to come. So get really raw and really honest and really real and ask for that guidance. Connect to your higher self. This is what I'm saying with all of these things. You know, it's so amazing to have this. This is the one thing that if I could wave my magic wand, I would give all of you, is that knowingness to, you know, when people are like, you never ask for advice, you never do this. This is why, because I have that thing inside where I know where to go. No matter what the situation is around, I know where to go, I know how to ask, and then I know how to receive the guidance. When you have that for yourself, that is priceless. That's the thing. So learn to trust yourself in that process, and then you can do anything in life because you have all the answers. And so that's really the thing to cultivate. Call it personal revelation, call it inner knowingness, call it connection, call it alignment, right? The point is, have the answers. We have a minute remaining. I have answered questions for an hour. You guys see how much I love you? Okay, I love you all. I think it's definitely time for me to learn to teach. Yes. Have the courage to show up. Have the courage to show up. I love you all. Go and check out, those of you that are feeling the call for the higher stuff of the soul, go check out the Metaphysical Mastermind. You have 3 days left to register. There are payment options available. Ask me any questions. It's on my website, www.moonbabetribe.com. We take all these things to the next level. We actually practice the higher principles and the deeper knowledge. So go to the website and click on Metaphysical Mastermind. See if it calls your soul. Feel the energy of it and see if it's in alignment for you. I love you all. This is Sonia G from Moon Babes and the Light Tribe. I will see you on the next one. Mwah! Happy ascending. I love you guys.